Why is the most important question that law enforcement has to answer to people. The why. Why do we do what we do? Because unless that question is answered, what ends up happening is there's a lot of room for speculation and there's a lot of room for misunderstanding. And that causes friction, and that really shouldn't happen. We should be available, and I should always be available personally to answer the why. Rivero, why are you doing this? Why are your deputies doing this? And communicate that out to the public so at least they get an understanding. It may not be the answer that they want. They may want that person out of there today, but if they understand why they can't do that and how the laws of unintended consequences apply to many of the things that law enforcement does, it really establishes a different mindset for folks.
How are they tenants if they're not paying rent?
They still remain tenants, believe it or not, and there's no fast and set rule. It used to be like 30 days there and you gain tenancy, legal tenancy, but that's been shortened in the last, the last 10 years, shortened considerably. A person could come in, move in, bounce the check to you, be in there a few days to a week and be a tenant, and you have to formally evict them. And again, law enforcement doesn't write the laws. These are written by your legislators. We have to enforce the laws. And we have a civil division that does a fantastic job. We do evictions all the time. We also do civil process. We serve domestic violence restraining orders. We do those for free for the victims of domestic order by law, victims of domestic violence. But we have our constraints too. We live within the four corners of our own box. And that's really something that when you get groups like this together where you're allowed to ask the why of the individuals that are actually out there doing the job, it clarifies so many things, and then you can act accordingly to that. You start to get your mind around it. Go ahead, Cyril.
Yeah, if a house has a red tag on it, does the sheriff have the authority to throw the person out of it?
We have authority to arrest them.
To arrest them?
Yes, that's a different, that's a criminal violation. You can't go into a red tag home.
What if you already evicted these people? You went, the bank said, okay, and they did the civil work, and you evicted them, and that night they're back in there.
Well, as long as we can get a citizen's arrest form, we can arrest them for being there. The problem is that if it is a bank-owned property, you usually have agents that are not around except for 9 to 5, and even then they're busy with other things. Generally speaking, yes, if they've been evicted, they can be arrested for trespassing. But again, it's not a fast and hard rule. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
What about a home that this is one that we've all had a problem with recently? It's the home that this gun situation happened to.
Yes, sir.
This house hasn't been evicted. It's been almost 2 years now not paying rent. Okay, you can't evict it. I get that. But what about the other side of it, where you had officers there constantly, all the time, know him by first name? You guys have been spoon-fed information on things he has in that house. Your officers have walked in there, been in his grow room, and noticed he does not have a script or anything, and walked out and said, it's not my problem. Knows that he has meth-making equipment and precursors in the home. This is stuff that's been spoon-fed to you and has not been dealt with.
Well, I can tell you this. If the person is making meth, or if the person is above their legal limit, because there is Proposition 215, and by the way, I'm going to touch on marijuana for just a little bit because it's such an important issue for all of us here in this room. But the bottom line is, if you look at the amount of arrests that we've done, if we have any probable cause at all, the deputies will call the narcotics detectives, and the narcotics detectives will get a search warrant, because we can't just go into somebody's home and search for, even if we have.
But you've been in there for crimes, you've been in there for violent situations, okay? So your officers have been in the home.
And then
they have seen this stuff there. I know for a fact they have, okay? I know for a fact that there is equipment. I know there are precursors, and not just for meth, but for ecstasy, things like DMT, things like this in the home. I know that he cleans meth for people there. I know the stuff. You guys know the stuff. You guys have walked in knowing that he doesn't have a script. He has full operational grow room, and just walk out saying it's not my problem.
Well, I don't know about I don't know about the script or not, but he has been arrested previously. I mean, this isn't his first rodeo.
The only reason he got arrested is because of a DUI when someone else wrecked his car, and the sheriff came over and picked him up. That's his only arrest.
Okay. Well, what I can tell you is, if we have,
No, he went to his family's house for a, this is not his house, the person you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's the kid that stayed there that's been robbing people.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
You know, that girl
And-
was there, that's the one that stole her laptop. She knows that she went and got the laptop back.
We just gonna paint.
if I can just finish answering your question, anytime these deputies have enough probable cause to make an arrest, they do. And the arrest statistics show it. I mean, they show it. They have doubled the arrest statistics. They're aggressive in their arrests. But we have to abide by the rules also. So we can't just go in and take somebody into custody unless we have the probable cause to do so.
So if we're already there, though,
How much does it take?
what does it take if you're in there, you see it, you know?
Well, we have to have the probable cause that a crime was
I
committed.
understand
It's-
telling you
it's-
yourself, your officers have been there and have seen it. You know, just a few days where they've been
How
there.
how did you get the information? I'm just curious if our officers
I used
saw
to
it.
live on the other side of the house, okay?
Okay.
And when I was there, he moved from New York and he became a good friend of mine for a while.
Okay.
And then I realized what he was and what things were about, and that's where I parted my ways. But since then, we do communicate a lot. He's had a friend of my dog there for years, so I had advice to walk in the house and say hi to him all the time,
Mhm.
you know? And so I keep a friendly nature, you know? And so I can see far more than any of you guys get to see.
But you were in his house the same time that our deputies showed up? You were able to
I've been
actually
there 3
see
times with the sheriff.
inside the house with the sheriff's
Three
deputies?
times I've been there.
And you
Since
saw
5
something?
years he's been there. I used to, somebody in here, I used to be my old landlord, and I lived in their house on the other side, you know, and lived in there. That's why I became friends with him, the sheriff came there frequently there.
Do you know what sheriffs, the deputies were
At
there?
that point in time, well, it was before you were in office when it started, but
Okay.
since you've been there, it's been back and forth. The officers know my name, you know?
Well, you know, we have throughout the county, honestly, we have throughout the county repeat offenders, people who are just problematic, that they are constantly an issue for our sheriff's office. But there isn't always something that we can do to get to the point of probable cause to arrest. And even you said there was a child there,
Yes.
I mean, I remember, and I'm not here to tell war stories, but I remember an experience out in Nice that I had when I was a deputy, where I came to a house where there was drug activity going on. We were there for domestic violence. There were 3 children. It was raining sheetrock on them. We called CPS and they didn't take them. I can't speak for that type of activity. I think that's really abhorrent behavior as far as your duties to the children and to your job. But, you know, we're not 100% perfect, and I'm not going to try to rationalize missing something or a deputy not seeing something or maybe having probable cause of not taking action. But I can tell you that the vast majority of the time they do, and the stats, you know, pan that out. It proves that. Go ahead, ma'am.
So in a meeting like this is very alarming to hear. So what can we do? What can he do? Can he go to the sheriff's, can he go to the county office and go above somebody's head who's not taking care of it now and report it to someone higher? Can we get something done about this?
Well,
In a meeting like this, we need to know that we have some avenue of reporting and getting something taken care of, that we see, that we know it's the law and it's harming people, not just one child.
I agree with you. And let me say this, the law enforcement is a two-pronged animal. You have law enforcement, which are the officers on the street, the deputies, the police officers, et cetera. On the other side of the coin, you have the district attorney's office. We arrest many people on good arrests, very good arrests, where the charges are either traded for pennies on the dollar, where they're given essentially a pass. Okay, where the plea bargain is nothing, particularly to someone who already has a criminal history, extensive criminal history, and it wouldn't matter to them in any event. And I can give you many examples, and I've gotten many calls myself. My cell phone is out there. I purposely put it out there for people to call me in case they have problems with, or complaints or concerns. And I have gotten many calls concerning cases that were not prosecuted. When I check in our system to see what the status is of that case, in fact, they were either arrested or sent up for prosecution through a process called complaint, but it's dismissed by the DA's office, and there's absolutely nothing that law enforcement, that side of it, can do about it. Go ahead, ma'am.
So can you take his number when you get done with this meeting?
Well, I'm gonna give you,
Find out what's going on
Are you
with
gonna
this
give us
property.
your
yeah, I'll give you all myself. Actually, if you have a pen, I'll give it to you right now. It's 707-295-6289. And I get a lot of good information. A lot of drug arrests have started with calls to that phone number in this county. So I do appreciate you letting me know what's going on. I'm grateful for it because we can't be everywhere and we are limited in staff. There's no question about that. I would love to have a lot more staff to work with, but that's what I've been given to work with. We only have 2 open positions. Go ahead, sir.
Is there a three strikes rule, and would it pertain to this situation, or does the guy have to be convicted of the crime before it starts as a county?
They have to be convicted, and the 3 strikes was recently also amended so that some non-violent, because it was part of what they claim is the reason for the overcrowding in prison. But I'll tell you this, in the last 3 years, 1,500 life sentence prisoners have been released from the California state prison system. Those were people who were sentenced to life imprisonment, and they were released from the California state prison
Just
system.
because of our current government?
It is because of,
This is a lesson in who we vote for, too, right?
yes, it is a lesson in who you vote for, but it's also a lesson, like the 3 strikes, if you really look at that situation, the AB 109, the realignment, and et cetera, objectively, we were, at the time that the Supreme Court issued the order to start releasing prisoners or they're going to be fined draconianly, we were 157% of our allotted population in state prison. I believe it was October, the Supreme Court said that they weren't going to, October of last year, they were not going to give the governor any more room. The realignment has already took place. It took place under, when I started, in October of 11, actually, it started happening where they were transferring, or actually new prisoners that were sentenced to state prison, or otherwise would be sentenced to state prison, are now being sentenced to the county jail. And the problem was the overcrowding in the state prisons. But there was another problem too, which is not mentioned like that problem is, which was the power of the correctional officers union. They wanted to diminish that power. The correctional officers union prior to AB 109 and the realignment was the most powerful union in the state of California as far as spending money in Sacramento and lobbying and things like that. So they needed to disband that power also. So it was there were 2 issues there. They were in fact overcrowded, and they were being court ordered to empty those jails, those prison cells out. But they continue to be released. They even in recent articles that I've read where they say, well, we're not really releasing anybody early. Well, that's not true, because what they say, they just change the way they phrase it. They say, well, we're just reducing their sentence, or we're giving them 50% credit for good time, or increasing or decreasing the amount of time that they're going to actually serve. So they are early release, and then they go into a system where the probation department is in charge of overseeing these individuals along with probationers, which is very taxing all the way around in the system. So the bottom line with that is what's happened is that the burden for these sometimes very violent people, because remember they say the crime that they committed can't be violent or serious or sexual in nature, but that doesn't mean that they don't have that in their criminal history. It just means that that particular crime that they were arrested for, that now they're being sent to county jail for, this time happens to not fall under those 3 nons. Go ahead.
So is there no hope for us?
There's plenty of hope, man. Wherever there's people in this room and wherever there's people willing to take action and stand up to the system, there is hope. There's plenty of hope.
Should we get
But
a petition to have the dialogue?
no, what I would, there's so much that an individual can do, and then that individual collectively with other individuals can do even more. But it all starts locally.
So we're asking for an actual honest answer. We have a question about how we like to do it. What can we do?
Well, what you can do is what you're doing here today. You can be vigilant about your own neighborhoods. You can ask questions. You can have your neighborhood watched.
What do they do to fix the problem, that is what we want to know.
Well,
Identify it, don't get identified forever.
Well, if you're talking about the AB 109, the realignment, Oh,
people in their house.
no, I understand, well, I didn't understand that, but I thought you were talking about more broad. No, you could,
If we could narrow down, take this house as just one example, because we all have houses around like this. So if we could just talk about this one, this situation, options we can do. And I don't mean that we all band together and we keep talking about it like we're doing now. Give me a real life scenario of something that I can do myself, or I can get attention of someone else specifically, that I can step in and take care of the situation.
well, you can, when you see him breaking the law, when you see him breaking the law and have specifics, like you said, he was your friend, and then you kind of like an acquaintance, but you know that he was doing things illegal, you call us, we'll do our best to get probable cause to arrest him, and then he has to be prosecuted, because if it's just a revolving door, then he's gonna come right back into your neighborhood, and the prosecution.
Call up to jail.
Yes, well, he's in jail right now, man.
No, he went to jail, we're talking about the man who actually lives in the home, not the people with him.
Okay.
There are people with him, there are plenty of them that go to jail frequently. But the one who has the home, he's been in jail one time since 5 years, and he only went because he got in a car accident, and you guys followed his school trail all the way to his house, and that was before you were in office.
Okay.
And now, in this one, look, it's only one guy. As soon as he's out, that entire riprap group, they all have to go somewhere else.
It's quiet. Last night they came to the door last night. I heard 3 of them knocking on the door trying to go
Yeah.
in. He wasn't there. Wonderful, they left.
I understand.
All right, the house that we all think, I think we're all talking about next to me,
Next to you, exactly.
16210 Golf,
That's it.
okay? The guy who lives there, who's been squatting there, is Craig. And he has, or had, a co-tenant there, Cole. He was the victim with the gun in his mouth the other day. You probably got a little bit of what's coming to him. Those 2 individuals have been since booked. I think they're still in custody?
Yes.
Did they make bail?
I don't.
No, they're posted bail.
Okay.
They
So-
happen to actually be friends of mine. I know.
All right, so now we have a situation where we don't care about all the stats. Sure, they're important. We want something done here. This is local. We want something done here. Now, I'm a police officer, and I know what we can and can't do, and I kind of step in a little bit, and I step back because I don't want to step on you know what. Because I want to keep my job for a while.
Who are you, police officer?
San Francisco,
Hey,
yes.
my alma mater.
Yes, I know. So, what I'm saying is the people here just want some relief, they want some attention. And I know how the law works, but the people here don't generally know what probable cause and how it works.
Right.
But we're very frustrated, and I know you're shorthanded, but we want something done on your end, an active participation on your part.
Well,
I'm
I do.
not finished. Hold on to that, please. Okay. For all of you, that house is up for mortgage, up for auction. It starts tomorrow.
Good.
Starting at 25,000 for the auction.
25,000 is the auction price. Caveat is, it is cash only, and you have to evict them. Oh yay. They were supposed to be evicted on the 28th of February,
Exactly.
and Marcia Holder, the bank agent at the bank there, who holds that note, says, oh, well, the sheriffs fell through and they didn't make it out there to do the eviction. They should already be gone.
Well, I would have to look into that, but I highly doubt that we fell through. We have a very good civil process server.
Mailbox is always full.
Now, it's a bank-owned property.
Caldwell Banker, Marcia Holder.
Yeah, you know, if it was owned by somebody who was losing rent, they would have been evicted a long time ago. But
Well, somebody was giving me a little hand service there because maybe her, maybe the sheriff's, I don't know what. No, I'm not making the accusation.
that's fine.
Because often we don't get the information that's totally accurate, I get that. So these people, and myself, we just want to have something done. Now, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that's the auction. Hopefully, between the 2nd and the 5th, that place is sold, and the people who buy it, whomever they may be, will get them out. And you have a question?
I do. Who we can go to is kind of being answered. You say the bank owns it. I was thinking maybe they're renting from a private renter.
Right.
Can we petition in different situations, either the landowner or petition the bank, threaten to take our money out of that bank if they don't take care of their property?
Generally, a landowner would have a monetary self-interest, so they're gonna take care of that themselves. And the banks almost always have agents that are representing them as far as these sales, short sales or bank-owned properties. That's a little tougher because you're going through a whole bureaucratic system. But, you know, again, we can't be everywhere all the time. And we really do our best to handle the situations, and we respond to these calls. I mean, I have people who call me regularly, and we continue to send people out, even if we can't resolve it there immediately. But as you know, as a police officer, many times you come out and the thing is over. Whatever illegality was going on, and in SFPD, the response times were terrific. I mean, talk about minutes, and it will be over, and your probable cause is gone. So we do the best we can with the people that we have, and I actually applaud the men and women in the sheriff's office for the job that they've done. If you really look at what we're doing out here and the amount of arrests that we're doing, the marijuana abatement, the methamphetamine abatement, the sex crimes, we're checking on all 290s on a regular basis now, and 290 is people who are registered sex offenders. We've taken many of them into custody for being out of compliance. So we do a lot of work prophylactically, but we also have to be we're on a responsive mode most of the time. We're responding to your calls.
That's just another big
I'm sorry, that is the nature of the job, unfortunately, being a response. It's hard to control that, like, the reactive to. And I just real quick, I'm tied up. I just want to say that I'm not bad mouthing the sheriffs. Every sheriff that I've come up with has been very professional, and I appreciate their help. And from the cops' point of view, it's not a job for everybody, and they're doing the best of their job, and the best that they can do in that job for that time. So I'll start.
I just want to say, it's danced around. I think Lieutenant Brooks had something to say.
Yeah,
What we need to do is not dance. Put someone, a point of contact with these people, get it resolved. I think that's what the lieutenant was going to do. Because we could talk about stats all day long, but what's going to happen?
Well, I'm a direct point of contact for everybody in this county, and I field literally dozens of calls a day from the citizens. And some of them are compliments, some of them are complaints, some of them are just information. But I am a direct point of contact, and I am ultimately responsible. Go ahead, Steve, with what you were going to say.
Anything that you can do is call me. I'll leave some cards here, that's how we're gonna start
And
to fix
that's what
this.
I've done, that's why you're here.
This is gonna start to fix this thing. Take my cards, I won't be the point of contact for the neighborhood watch.
What's your number?
My telephone number, my direct number is 262-4081. It's also on the card as well.
Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you for some of the tips and.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question first for you
Yeah, sure.
personally. The gentleman who owns this bar got burgled. Burglarized. They stole a lot of expensive alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Someone came to him with evidence where and who did it. And they gave him pictures of the evidence in a person's house. When the deputy came out to investigate, he said that he was going to run it by you, and he returned and told the owner that you said not to touch it. That you couldn't
That
do
is
anything.
absolutely not true. Nobody
So-
ever contacted me ever about a burglary. That's just not true.
Okay. So how do we get Phil to get his justice?
He can call me and I will look into the report number, but as far as the deputy contacting me and me saying don't touch it, that is absolutely not true. That did not happen, I guarantee it.
I want to know where the 25,000 goes.
You know what, the asset forfeiture. Right now, we have set records for asset forfeitures, $361,000 we seized last year, give or take, and we're also taking cars and machinery, all kinds of assets, and that helps us in many different ways, because number one, it makes it not profitable to operate here in Lake County when you're growing or you're manufacturing methamphetamine or selling methamphetamine, but that there is a process that we have to go through, which is a legal process. It's handled by the DA's office, and then we have an MOU with the DA. And depending on whether that money is forfeited or they have to actually go to court to seize the money is distributed differently. If it's forfeited, we get roughly 80%. In other words, if we seize $10,000 from a guy and he says, hey, it wasn't mine and I ain't fighting it and I don't want it, then they go through a process that's uncontested. We get about 80% of that money at this point. If it's contested and they have to assign an attorney, then it goes down to a little under 60% of that money. And as far as, you know, taking gratuities, it is in our policy that we cannot do that. You talked about having a dinner or something. I know you were joking, but just on a serious note, you know, that would be inappropriate gratuities or not. We appreciate your support, and to say thank you to the deputies or just to contact them and say hi, that's great. They want that, they need the reinforcement. You know, this is sometimes a bit of a thankless job, but they do it and they really put their heart and soul into it, and your appreciation is really a big consideration towards them, and I'm grateful. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have a question about you have that list of situations or whatever they were, you said 500 and some odd.
568 CAD.
Was there an average response time on that?
I don't have the response times here for that, because this is just the call, the CAD number, the address, the time that we arrived, actually, and then the disposition of the call, whether it had merit or no merit. But I can tell you, just from talking to the folks here, that since we opened the Middletown sub, and we're not coming all the way out of Lower Lake or Clear Lake, the response times have been a lot faster, and the guys are out on the road a lot more also. But, you know, again, response times in a county like this, our optimum staffing, we have 4 general beats in this county. It's 1 deputy per beat, and then 1 cover officer north, 1 cover officer south, and a sergeant. That would be the staffing. Minimum staffing is 1 deputy per beat and 1 cover officer north and south. So, but it's an improvement. You know, when I worked as a deputy, I worked alone in South County, one officer.
Can we hear this gentleman?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
We're just getting a bunch of,
We want to hear this fellow.
No problem, come on up.
we need to hear you with staff.
Right. As the sheriff said, my name is Steve Brooks, I'm with the sheriff's office. And I've now been put in charge of the neighborhood watch programs. So hopefully we're going to fix whatever's wrong here. First thing I did, we're going to I set out some business cards. I want you guys to call me. If there's an issue, I want you to call me directly. It's my direct line into my office. I know I spoke with Inez last week sometime, I believe.
Yes,
And
because
then
I
I
was
believe
on
that-
call at dispatch twice.
And then I believe that you had a sergeant contact you.
Yes.
And I know we did some saturation patrols up here after that. So this is the beginning. I'm brand new. I don't want to get too beat up here. So I'm asking you to give me a chance and give me a call. And we'll work through this thing. This is going to be a collaboration between all of us. This is a team effort right here. And you're our eyes and ears. And I think if we work together, we can turn this thing around.
And the U.S. Marshal is well aware.
The U.S. Marshal.
I just wanted, what's your response to this gentleman's report? I don't know if he's still here or not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is your response to his report of officers being in the residence? Is there anything that can be done with that situation from your standpoint?
Okay, and you're talking this also happened 4 or 5 years ago too? It started?
Oh, started.
But it's just that 5 years going on.
If you tell, you know, if you've got knowledge that there are illegal substances inside that residence, at least give me a call, and I will put you in touch with a narcotics detective, and we'll work it from there. Okay?
We don't just want press releases, we want action.
Like I said, give me a chance.
No, I know you. You know, I volunteered while you were lieutenant. I know you. From the substation in Lower Lake years ago.
No, I wasn't a lieutenant years ago.
No, you weren't. It was Powers, but I know you were around. I know
Okay.
who you are.
Okay.
And the town hall meeting was on.
Okay. Give me a chance, you know, reach out to me, because I'm gonna reach out to you as well. Okay, I plan on attending as many of these meetings as I can throughout the county, in the different beats as well. So reach out to me, and I will always return the telephone call. So let's work on it.
And you have, because the mailboxes have been full. Yes.
What's that?
I said, and you have, because the mailboxes are full. Dispatch had me on hold twice, and also the electronic messages I'm not into. So I had to waltz in and do some of my own research at the stations and the DA's office. Did a lot of legwork.
Okay, I don't know about the mailboxes. Just give me a call. You've got my direct line.
What's the total number of sheriff's deputies that are in the county, that are on the beat?
That are working today right now,
At any time, what's the general number?
just what the sheriff said, we're gonna have a deputy for each beat, a sergeant that's on, and minimum coverage would be one cover officer. So there'd be six, there would be six total. For a minimal,
Could we get a roster?
Yeah, they assign me or they rotate?
it depends. We have a deputy that's assigned full-time to the Middletown area, this area, that's Deputy Newton.
That's not a very big number for this whole county.
No, it's not. 1,256 square miles, we've got that 7 deputies on.
And how these areas are remote, like Cobb and other areas.
And that explains a lot of our response times too. See, we've got something real heavy that's going on in Clear Lake Oaks. We've got deputies rolling over there. Something happens here, they're driving from the Oaks.
The ideal situation would be if you had officers living in a community and they work that area. And then if there was an emergency, had to go somewhere else. In other words, if sheriffs could live in the area roughly where they work. Is that an idea? Good idea?
Well, I don't know if,
I don't know if it's practical if people live in different places, but I mean, that would be.
I don't think that's going to increase your response times.
So what determines what the staffing level is? Are you given just a budget and for the whole year and this is what you have to work with?
You'll have to ask the sheriff that question because I don't know.
I have a question. On the upside, these pot growers, meth people, and other burglars and sex offenders are not that smart.
Yeah.
And that's a given. They didn't go to school and get a profession, and they're not helping people, they're disturbing people. They're not that smart. So if we, on the upside, if we can get our communities together and know our neighbors, and just call the cops a lot. I mean, I know there's not enough to go around, there never will be, there's not ever gonna be enough money, but if we just do it, then they'll know that we're responsive.
You
We're
guys-
responsive to our neighbors. We're gonna do something and not sit there and let them rob us and
The
kill
board
us.
of supervisors dictates to how many officers they get.
Right, there's
And
always
there's
so
the
much
problem
we can
right there.
Right, there's a problem,
It's
there's
the
always
left-
gonna be a problem.
We need to put the pressure on them, and I'm
But
not
if
being
we can
mean
do
or
a little
anything.
bit, that's why we're here today.
Powers and numbers,
But if we do a little bit.
and we got the power here.
It's better
Trust
than
me.
doing nothing.
I want you to call every time there's a problem.
We will. I do. I'm a caller. And I've seen too much.
And the other side of-
I'm not gonna hesitate to call. But I just think that there is power in numbers, and these guys are not that smart. They're stupid. Come on.
And on the other side of that, somebody complained. What's that?
Okay, they're not.
Yes or no what?
They're not all stupid because anyway, you know.
What about, like, they have volunteer, doesn't Clarendon have like volunteer police, patrol?
I don't know if they have a volunteer patrol or not. They have volunteers, but I don't know if they
Well,
patrol.
I've seen police cars that say volunteer, something, city of Cleveland. Does it say?
We have cars that say that as well.
Why can't we have like a patrol up in the car?
A volunteer
Yeah.
patrol?
Well, what would it do if they just don't like them?
Well, if you have someone at least just driving around.
Yeah,
it's got
if they see a police car, a sheriff's car, they're gonna say, I think I better go over to Cleveland.
What's that?
Could that be a paid position? No, I'm not talking a salary that is like ginormous, but just some kind of compensation for that person that wants to be a volunteer, that meets the criteria, goes to bonding, whatever it takes. And could those people be cycled and get compensation some?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know the answer to
Some kind of
that.
incentive to get going.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out what that answer is.
I have a sign on my vehicle that says leader neighborhood watch, we can all do that too.
But as far as a marked patrol vehicle, I don't know. I'll have to find out.
Could you find out too, volunteer, carry that?
There was someone here that said they were waiting for the neighborhood watch signs. What was that about? Can we make our own neighborhood watch signs?
The metal ones?
We could just get some wood and paint them.
Something, yeah.
So why not?
You could order them. Maybe each block that has a volunteer, they can order it, and then they get the money from their block.
What I might make a suggestion on that one, okay. If everyone wants something like that, maybe contact our supervisors that are responsible for our hill.
Yeah.
And maybe, because you can't just go punching signs up, there's ordinances about that. But maybe work through the county road department, and perhaps, well, that's what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of things that we're handcuffed in, it's budgetary, and maybe see if our supervisor, or supervisors, depending on where you're at, if they're open, there are budgets not just from the money the basket just got passed around here, or the SO, maybe the street department or the road department might have some funds so they can make some of those
They
for
might
us.
even have some on.
They may, but that's what I'm saying is that I'm just trying to take some of the heat off this because it's all about money sometimes. Yeah.
I got new ones. If you're going, you're going.
I like that one.
Is there anything else I can, yes?
Rivera, because he has the statistics. Are the break-ins being predominantly done on this hill over here? Because I live on the other hill over here, and we don't seem to have the problem. So is it predominantly on, Golf and Ponderosa, that hill there? Or in other areas of Cobb, just as bad?
One at Rainbow Drive, Golf Road, Castlewood Road, T Road, that's in Whispering Pines. T Road, one in T Road, one in Duluth Way,
That's up there.
one Parr Road. Let me check the others, there's another one here in Duluth Way, I'm wondering if that's just a follow-up.
What
In
about the
fact, it
video
is, so there was
store?
one less than that, because there's two on Bruce Way, but it was just a follow-up on it, so this was a burglary.
So the main problem seems to be with this hill, which most of you guys.
Ponderosa Drive,
That's, yes.
hang on just one second, I'm almost through, I think it's higher list. High Road,
Was that the video store?
and,
Yeah.
Nedlick Road. Yeah, High Road and Nedlick Road, so those are the burglaries.
But there should be a big fur.
I live in this.
There should be a big fur. Road, big fur
We
road.
don't allow them.
Big fur lane. Big fur lane.
Why isn't it police?
In January,
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
Maybe 90 days.
90 days.
90 days.
is that the fur lane I was talking about? Fur?
Big fur lane.
Was done. I think we're gonna wrap this up for now. It's getting hot. Everybody's about meeting out. Next month's meeting, we have a guest speaker coming in to teach us about beefing up security at your home and working on observational skills. So,
What's the date?
okay.
What's the date?
I haven't said it yet. Do you want to just stick with the first? Does that work for everybody, Sundays? First Sunday of the month? 2 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
4th of July weekend.
Oh. Let's do second Sunday then for July. Will that work? So, the 8th? July 8th, 2 o'clock. Thank you all for coming and being involved. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, folks, if I can get your attention just for 1 second, it's not about the public, it's public safety related. I'm Jim Comiskey, I sit on the Fire District Board here. We have a fundraiser for South Lake County Firefighters Association. It's going to be on the Friday of Middletown Days, June the 20th. I have tickets for the raffle, I have tickets for the dinner, it's $20 per adult, and all the funds go back into the district to help fund the volunteer side of the fire district. So if anyone's going to plan on attending and wants tickets, I have some with me, or if not, you can stop by any of our stations and get them too. But it's the 20th, it's down at Twin Pines, it's an excellent prime rib dinner, lots of door prizes, and all sorts of stuff. It's a good time. Yeah. $20.
There is iced tea on the table if anyone's thirsty.
The date may be wrong, the date may be wrong.
Because July 8th is Tuesday.
Okay. It'll be July 13th, not the 8th. 13th.
This is important.
July 13th, we were mistaken, it's not the 8th. It's the 13th at 2 o'clock. Here. Yes. 13th.
Otherwise, it's on Sunday, right?
Okay, yes.
Get older. Father building, right? Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah, I don't even know if the numbers are visible.
Say that's it. The next time, maybe. I don't know.
25,000.
Thank you for doing this. Was it actually on film? Did they?
Look at that. I mean, if it wasn't going for auction, maybe that would have been just. But then there's
Should we?